Hey.
How you doing, Providence? This is Matt Giles, the missions guy, doing another Matt chat from the Matt Cave. Uh, Real excited about talking to two folks with me today. We've been going around and just kind of doing interviews just with all of our network churches, our family of churches, and we got the two gentlemen who are stepped out from us here recently to plant Bridge Church, Anthony Burton and John Barber. And so we're so excited to have them be part of what's going on. And so, just want to catch up with you. So Pastor Anthony, how you doing, man? What's going on?
Doing well. How about yourself?
Man, I'm doing good, man. So tell me a little bit about the church right now. What's going on with Bridge Church?
Really just trying to deal with the changes with coronavirus and streaming online and trying to figure out ways for us to connect that involves more than just a video screen. So that's mostly it. It's kind of difficult. A lot of the plans that we had for this particular season seem to be out of the window, and trying to either postpone things and pick up late or come up with a different way to do certain things.
So John, anything you add to that as far as what you guys may be thinking, trying to do that relational stuff?
Yeah, like what we talk about a lot at Bridge is that we're kind of better set up for this than a lot of churches are. We're a church that's made to be mobile. It's what we do. And so we're used to pivoting. We're used to having to change plans. We didn't have a choice when it came to decide, are we going to meet in the building for another week or two? We didn't have a choice because the school said no. So we pivoted and we changed it, and we're streaming and never done it before, but we're doing a lot of things we've never done before. I think all churches are right now.
Any specific stuff you guys can say about the way you've connected relationally? I mean, any tips you figured out or things that you've done differently that you thought, man, we've never done this before, but it's working?
Yeah.
Lots of Zoom.
Lots of Zoom, exactly. We've been doing our small groups. We call them community groups. We've been doing them over Zoom, which I think if anybody's been a part of one of those groups, they'd all acknowledge that it's a little bit awkward at first. It's different. But after a few minutes, people kind of fall into it and get used to it. I think everybody's getting used to talking that way now.
Yeah, it is interesting that when you have the DNA we have, so we share DNA, and the fact that we're both trying our best to be relationally discipleship
Definitely
driven, and being a church that's connected like that. This is a curveball, I think, for us more than maybe others, because none of us really had that mindset of this production driven kind of focus. So it has been a shift, which I think you guys have done a great job about keeping it relational, which I think is a great thing. But if we're looking at this, obviously the virus has kind of knocked our timeline to pieces on things. But what's going on? What's around the bend for Bridge? What are you guys looking at doing or developing, or anything going on that you think folks would want to hear about?
Yeah, so John and I have been talking a lot about how to take advantage of this moment and make it the most for us, as well as when things sort of go back to normal, doing things that we can continue going forward. They don't just stop. So a couple of things that we've talked about. We just started doing prayer through Zoom last week. Going to continue that. One of the big things is that we're hoping for here is to start teaching, having Bible studies and those kinds of things over the streaming airwaves. So those are a couple of things I can think of off the top of my head. Really looking forward to the teaching piece of this. I keep sort of pushing and bugging John about it. But I'd like to see that happen. And seems like, we're going to continue the stream. So even after we go back to our regular services at the school, hopefully sooner rather than later, we'll continue streaming, because one of the things that we've seen is it's reaching people. Like, lots of people are viewing it, more than I think I ever would have thought. It's turned out to be a powerful tool. And so I think it can become part of our mission, just in terms of reaching people, reaching out, and figuring out a way to be interactive with it is another thing that I've got my eyes set on. So John and I talked just a little while ago about doing a praise and worship for Palm Sunday, but opening up the dialogue on the stream for prayer requests and praying for them real time while we're having worship. So yeah, that's what I think. What I've been thinking about. Go ahead,
I
John.
definitely think it's going to change things. I mean, I think the mindset might change a little bit about how we see this. I was not really a Zoom person. I didn't do much of this, and certainly weren't doing, interviews weekly of things. But
Sure.
man, I can tell you, I think there will be some folks that see ministry with some new eyes, maybe some different ways to do relational ministry. So that'll be interesting. I'm really encouraged to hear you guys doing that. That's one of the things that's good about church planting is all the innovation. So when you get long in the tooth as a church, and Providence isn't yet, but that's one of the struggles. And so you guys who are on the front line, it's a majorly different perspective, no doubt. But so tell me, what are you guys thinking about this? What are you telling your folks? I mean, when they're looking at this coronavirus situation, the quarantine, it's been funny to me just seeing the extreme on both sides of this. So you've got people who are panicking, and maybe are looking at it and we might even say they're overreacting or becoming, very panicked about it. Then you got the other side where they're really downplaying it to the point of where it adds to the danger. I think you got both categories. I think Christians kind of are in the middle of navigating this. We've got a better perspective. But what are you guys sharing with them? Anthony, you got words as a pastor, you guys just throwing that out there?
Well, I think as Christians, Christians seem to be all over that map as well, on either ends of the extreme. I think as pastors, we just have to, figure out a way to be wise and sober-minded, thinking through the things that are taking place. I've done a couple of videos where I've just sort of posted my thoughts. I think we just have to just weather the storm, adhere to all of the guidelines of the government and what's going on. Not to panic, not to act out in fear. Be careful. You consider what it means to love your neighbor, and considering the most vulnerable of the population, and trying to do all that we can to make that curve more of a curve and less of a ramp, if you will, so that people aren't getting sick, and as well as like overrunning the hospitals and healthcare workers and that kind of thing. One of the things I started doing last week that I'm going to try to continue going forward, and I think it's another advantage of us being a smaller church as opposed to a big monstrosity with a lot of members, is that I can just like check in on everybody, see how they're doing, send out a text message and just say, do you need anything? Want to make sure that maybe whether it's through the job or maybe a family member, whatever. when you're small, you can keep those kinds of ties and connections. If you're too big, then there's just no way to do that. And you would hate to see someone fall through the cracks and really be again adversely affected by what's going on, and like we never know, and wouldn't be there to help. And one of the things that I found when I started reaching out is that most of our people have the same concern, and so they want to make sure that everyone knows that they're available for help. Whether it's it could be anything from needing help to pay your bills to somebody bringing you something from the grocery store or whatever. We just need to be there for each other through get to the end and turn back to normal to some sense.
John, how are you pastoring people? What are you doing during that time?
Yeah, it's a good question. Yeah, Anthony hit one really important thing, which it's a tool that we've all had this whole time, but we've never really used it that much, and it almost seems archaic, and that's actually picking up the phone and making phone calls, actually connecting with somebody voice to voice, even if you can't be face to face with them. And it's huge. It seems so little, but it's huge. It's not an email, it's not a text message, it's a phone call. But the other thing that we're trying to communicate to our folks is that, like, while this is a kind of a singular and unique moment in history, in some ways it's kind of business as usual for the church. It's our job to be salt and light to the world. And so that means that what we do as believers and as a church should reflect the glory of God. That means we're choosing to live stream our services, but it also means that our people have the opportunity to share what Christ has done for them in a personal way. So we're actually rolling this out today. We haven't even told our folks yet, but one of the things we're going to do on Easter is have our bridge folks post videos of them giving their testimony, just saying, this is how Jesus changed my life, and using this opportunity for them to be evangelistic to a huge audience. I mean, these are people that even if you invited them to church, they wouldn't come, probably. Will absolutely click a link and watch a live stream, even if it's for 5 minutes. And so we have a huge opportunity here to be evangelistic in the middle of all this, even though we can't be around other people physically.
Yeah, I think you have tapped into something. I believe that people are really wearing out the social media time right now. I mean,
amen.
You're hanging out, you're checking.
Guilty.
Yeah, you're checking everybody's hitting the updates over and over again. I mean, there's definitely more connection there than there has been. And maybe for the first time, the word may be kind of social might actually be part of it now.
Totally.
Yeah, maybe we're leaning that way. Who knows? But
totally.
It's an interesting time for sure. I think it's going to be interesting to see how churches continue to work. But I think you said something that's super important, man. That it really doesn't matter what we do. If we just go back to what we were called to do, I mean, nothing really changes. I love what you said, John, because like really the avenue in which we do it changes, but we're still trying to make disciples. I mean, there's not a lot of change in that. We're still trying to share the gospel with people, still trying to bring people together. Those are all the things that we're trying to make happen. So I don't see much change in that. So you guys, let's see, we just had our birthday, right? So how many months are you guys now? You're what, 8 months, 18 months?
Our birthday is in September, so we're about a year and a half in.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So
don't make me do math.
Year and a half.
It's exactly a year and a half.
It's exactly go. Okay. I gave you 2 more months than you have. It probably feels like that though. So how do you feel? I mean, like, how do you guys feel about the state of things? How do you feel spiritually? How do you guys feel about what's happening? Anthony, share a little bit about just where you guys are. You guys are 18 or 16 months. I gave you that. You're year and a half.
So spiritually, I actually feel great. Like I'm praying more, reading more. We're going through the journey together. And I think that's all because of I didn't realize like how much time I spend driving and those kinds of things. So being at home has freed a lot of my time up. One of the things that I'm kind of struggling with a little bit here is the thought of like, what is it going to be like when everything sort of passes?
Yeah.
Are we going to get the number of people continuing that will come back that we left off from? Will it feel like we're starting back from day one again? Who knows? Which is why, like, I actually started sort of reaching out last week because this has been on my heart pretty heavy. Like, I don't want us to have a big drop off. So this is like the disadvantage of being a small, brand new church. There hasn't really been the time necessary to create the kind of long-lasting connections that you need, and so we're in the process of building those. And so when this is all said and done, I would like for us to not only pick up from where we left off from, but like having made a jump because we have the streaming and everything else that's going on. But like, I don't know where it's going. I don't know what it's going to be. I don't know what it's going to look like. So yeah, I'm ready for this to be over in that sense.
How about you, John?
Yeah, well, one of the great things about Bridge right now, definitely a month or so ago, is going on the journey together has been great. We've got, I did it in 2012 at Providence, and it was super cool. But we've got people at Bridge that they've never even considered reading the Bible.
Yeah.
Certainly not all the way through.
Right.
And so we've got people constantly saying things like, I can't believe this. I can't believe this story. I can't believe I've never done this before. And so for the spiritual health of our church, the journey is great, even though it feels like, and when all this started coming down, you start having thoughts like, should we pause the journey? Should we stop for a while? And it's the opposite has been true. The journey has been great for us. If nothing else, we've been trying to tell people, you know what, take the time that you used to devote to your commute and read your journey reading for the day. Take that 15, 20 minutes, whatever it is, and do your journey reading, because it's been huge. And in light of what we're reading right now, the book of Judges, what we're going through as Americans seems kind of small. So it helps with perspective too.
Yeah, the journey, I mean, the timing of it's pretty good. I mean, I love what you're saying about the commute. Take that time and connect with the journey and continue that.
You got to do.
So tell us about the journey. How's it gone so far?
Journey is going well. Still, we had some thought at the beginning of all of this. Do we sort of step away from it? Do I preach from another passage that seems more poignant? I kind of feel like the passages, or at least the chapters that we've read that particular week, have been spot on with whatever is needing to be addressed. I feel like Spirit of the Lord has just put on my heart ways of communicating whatever we're thinking about as a ministry through those verses. And so, we had a mind to be more evangelistic, and the text this week where Joshua says, or last week rather, where Joshua said, as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. It was just a great opportunity to put sort of Jesus first out there for everybody to hear. So I think the journey is good. I think it works as far as our youth ministry goes, we've got to pick up the pace on our children's ministry. I think our student ministry is profiting from it well. We've also got to figure out a way to make sure that everybody in their homes, like it's filtering from husband and wife or mother and father down to children, all sort of doing it together. So that's another area I think I'd like to see us emphasize. But all in all, I love the journey. I got a lot of people asking lots of questions, lots of people who are reading things again for the first time, never read it before, and in some cases, like it's hitting them hard, making them ask, even of God, really hard questions, seeing Him in a different light. Especially, these first books when you go into Canaan and all of the bloodshed and the war and the sort of graphic nature of it. People are asking me questions, and I think those are good. I think it's good. I think it's great, especially if you have somebody willing to answer or at least help you answer some of those questions, or at the very least, they're not scared for you to delve into the difficulties of those passages. So what do you think, John?
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing how the passages have lined up exactly with where we've been so far. From do not be afraid to as for me in my house in 2 weeks. It's been great, and I don't know. I'm loving it personally too. I've read it before, but I'm still loving reading it again. And of course, Judges is like, the best action movie that nobody's ever made. It's every single passage is like this almost R-rated battle scene. That's like, man, be careful when you read this one with your kids, because you might want to filter a little bit of it. It makes for some darn good reading, I'll tell you. I'm loving it personally.
Yeah, it is great. I think it's always great to see that the Bible, I mean, obviously it is the inerrant, infallible Word of God. I mean, there's no doubt it's God's message to us, His story to us, but man, it's just great literature. I mean, it's just great stuff to read, which has just been awesome. I mean, to be impacted by that's been a great thing.
For sure.
Well, I'll tell you, we're in a unique place. It's a unique time, but man, it's just awesome to hear you guys talk about what you're doing, and that you're still doing the same thing. You're still making disciples, still building ministry to reconcile people to God and each other. I mean, just this mindset you have that just is what we're about, right? I mean, so we're really appreciative for that. Anything specific we can pray for Bridge? I mean, any way that I can pass that on to Providence?
We're still trying to figure out Easter a little bit. We had big plans for Easter. We had a huge project for Palm Sunday. We were going to do a big community project, partnering with First Baptist Knoxville to do an Easter egg hunt for the residents of South Knox, and it was going to be huge and great. And of course, all that got canceled. So we're trying to see how we can still reach our community, even though our big plan got changed. So be praying for that.
Yeah. Anthony, anything?
Just for there's some people within our body who are hurting in various ways. Just pray for the body. Pray that God continues to provide for needs and help where it's needed. Other than that, I mean, we have like just some real things that you deal with as a church. Asking God to provide for us in terms of finances and those kinds of things. So yeah, just God's faithfulness in that area.
Well, man, we'll certainly pray for that. We love y'all, and you just you mean a lot to us. We love your investment in that community, that you're pouring yourselves out over there and seeking to make disciples in that area and build relationships with folks. It's been exciting to see, and we want to support you in that. Providence, we're all in the same family, so that's always a great thing to be a part of. So I've learned a lot from you guys. I mean, it's been awesome to hear your just your I don't know if it's entrepreneurial or just a great startup mindset that is really awesome. I mean, and you guys kind of stick to the things that matter most. So that's been really cool. So Providence, telling you, be praying for Bridge, support them. You'll be hearing more about the things that are going on and the situations, that all the ways we can serve together and support. And I think what John was saying earlier is what it's all about. I mean, nothing really changes for us. The mission stays the same. The things we're trying to do, we try to do that. But I'm going to let these guys go. Anthony obviously has to feed his crows. I hear them. They've been crowing the whole time. They're upset. And John's got dogs wanting to maul him out there. So a lot of stuff happening. I don't know if you guys heard, but somebody just randomly mowed my yard. So that was nice. So a lot of good things going on, but we're really appreciative of you guys. So anyway, y'all take care. All right. Providence. See you later.
Love you, Providence.
Thanks, Providence.